Hey guys, Andrew with Curious Tech, bringing a video today on storage and why is it so important. Really, this video is going to be specific on the three main types of storage for a computer and the differences of those three main types and what you should be using for what types of data. So it's important to know this because you can save a lot of money in the long run. But also you do need to pay attention to things so far as speed plays a role in the type of storage that you own, and it can play a big difference on speeding up your computer, and that's kind of what this video is going to bring today. I have a fun experiment at the end of the video. We're going to be looking at how long it takes to actually load Grand Theft Auto 5. Most of us have played that game, and no matter if you have really fast storage or if you've got some slow storage, it takes a while for that game to really just load up. And that's really going to be the test of the three different types of storage and to show the speed between the three. But just to kind of go over them, one of the more, I don't want to call this legacy because we still use this, but this is a hard disk drive. This one is 1 terabyte. It is the slowest type of storage that most people can get right now, but it's still widely used. You can get your biggest bang for the buck. You can get the most amount of storage for the least amount of money. And then on the other end of that spectrum, we have Nvme drives here. And the way that this is actually much quicker. It's the fastest form of storage that most people are getting right now. And the drawback is going to be the price of it. It's going to be quite a bit more expensive to get an Nvme drive per gigabyte or per megabyte, however you want to look at that. So for the amount of storage, you're paying a lot more. And then there's also a middle of the road, and that's your SSD, your solid state drives. And this kind of helps, like I said, it's in the middle. It's going to be much faster than your hard disk drives, but it's not quite as fast as the Nvme. But the price per gigabyte is kind of in the middle there, and it's definitely a good one to consider as well. But with these three main types of storage, you're going to be able to build any kind of computer that's going to be able to handle your typical kind of work. So just to kind of go back to what we'd want to use these storage devices for, is your hard disk drive is going to be something like, for what I use, is just mass storage or things that I don't use a lot of. A good example is going to be any kind of documents, pictures, videos too. If it's a video I'm not going to use very often, and if it's really storage that I don't access that often, but I just want to back up or just need somewhere to put it, a hard disk drive is still a great option. And again, you can get these much cheaper than the other two, and we'll go over prices and show you what's available online. But solid state drive, as I mentioned, was kind of in the middle. So what I use for a solid state drive is really things that I don't have on the main operating system of Windows, but I still want it to be quick, snappy, and it is things that I do use often. So I'll use this for such as video editing, or I'll use it for any kind of games that I have, because I do like games to load quicker. The loading screens is really where you're going to notice the benefit. It's not that the game runs faster, it's just loads quicker. And that's why Grand Theft Auto 5 is going to be a good thing to kind of show the difference in speeds here, because there's tons of videos out there that really just hammer like, oh, it's this many, megabytes per second and that fast. But I'm really trying to put this video into layman terms for the average person, just to see, how much quicker really is it. But and then going back to the Nvme again here, I use this type of storage. It's the most expensive, but it is the fastest, and I like to use it really for my operating system. So Windows is very snappy, it's quick. And a lot of times, since it is so expensive, I'm not buying like 2 terabyte Nvme because of the price. This one, for my current computer, I actually have at 500 gigabytes. Holds the operating system and maybe a couple of my favorite games, and a lot of the other programs that I have in the program files on my C drive. But other than that, I really just have that drive for the operating system. And then once I upgrade, I'll actually get more than one NVMe. But this is just a really good start on a build to have a lot of storage, but you're not paying that top tier price. So a mix of all three in your computer system is what I would recommend. And as I'd mentioned, there's a use for all three. So what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and put this all back. We'll fire up the computer. I'll get Grand Theft Auto on all three storage devices, and we'll go ahead and run some tests and just see how long it does take for Grand Theft Auto to open. And I've got all the storage back in the PC, and it's time now to just really see the difference in speed. And I do currently have Grand Theft Auto already installed on the SSD, and that was the middle tier storage device I was showing you. So we're gonna go ahead and start with the solid state drive and to see how long it takes for Grand Theft Auto to load into story mode. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and open up Grand Theft Auto, and then when we get to the main menu of to choose story mode or online, that's when we'll start this timer. So we'll go ahead and get this running here. All right, so this is for the SSD, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually click start on the timer, and then immediately after we'll click start on story mode. And as soon as we load is when I'll hit stop, and that's gonna be how we actually measure the time it takes to load from the main menu into story mode on Grand Theft Auto. And we'll go ahead and start now on the SSD. And I just thought that this game would be a great example because even with fast storage, you're kind of stuck waiting for a second, and it is a big map and a big open world that it is loading. So it's a great way to kind of just see how long it takes. Right now, we're getting close to about 30 seconds here. And I don't know if anyone remembers, but back when, if you play this on a console, you're actually using a hard disk drive, and that was 36 seconds. I saw it. I clicked clear instead of stop. That was my fault. But that was a good test for the solid state drive. We're gonna now just I'm gonna now move this to the NVMe. Okay, so now we have Grand Theft Auto on our NVMe drive. The first test was with the SSD. We're gonna see if it comes in quicker than the 37 seconds that it took. It should, however, it's not gonna be as big of a difference as when it comes to our last test with the hard disk drive. Really, these two options are definitely much better. However, they are more expensive than your hard disk drive. This being the most expensive option. Some other perks with it though is that with the NVMe, it connects directly to the motherboard, meaning there's no wires leading to it, and it's also, as I mentioned, just the quickest in general. So we'll see how long it takes here. And really, if you can afford all NVMe drives or larger storage capacity NVMe drives, it is the best option. But if you're just looking for a good budget build, you're really going to want to incorporate all three storage options. It's just, this test is just really to show you, what the real difference is in speed. So we're coming up on 30 seconds. We'll see if we can actually beat that SSD drive. But we got to remember this is running our operating system and right at 36 seconds. Came in right at 36 seconds. But the one disadvantage that this had compared to the SSD is we're running the operating system on it, other things, OBS, all of that's running simultaneously as we were trying to load Grand Theft Auto. Does make a small difference. It did come in right at about the same or maybe a second quicker than the SSD did, the 2.5-inch drive. However, not a whole lot quicker, but in the end, as I mentioned, it's running multiple things on it at once. All right, now we've got Grand Theft Auto 5 on the hard disk drive. And this is definitely going to be the slowest in performance and as mentioned before, the most affordable storage device out of the three mentioned. Let's go ahead and get this test underway here. We'll hit start. And we got Grand Theft Auto loading to story mode now. So we'll see how much longer this takes compared to the 2.5-inch SSD and Nvme drive. I usually use the hard disk drives for pictures, documents, games as well. It's not that the game runs any slower on the different storage devices, it's that the game just takes longer to load. So it's a loading screen like this is where you're really going to see the difference. We're already coming up on how long it takes with the SSD and NVMe, and it's going to take quite a bit longer here. Just transferring Grand Theft Auto between these three drives, it really took much longer to do it with the hard disk drive. I want to say it took about 3 times longer to transfer. And coming up on a minute. We're still not loaded. It's a minute and 2 seconds. So definitely can tell it's almost twice as slow when it comes to loading Grand Theft Auto. And just between different cutscenes on other games, you can kind of imagine how much longer it takes for these scenes to load and why you'd want to use a different storage device than the hard disk drive. However, if it's something you don't use often, I really do recommend using it. All right, and just kind of wrapping up this video, I kind of want to go over the pricing of the 3 different drives. And so far as the 2.5-inch SSD and the Nvme drive, this is exactly what I have. Although I do have a different example for the hard disk drive because there's so many different options and they're all around the same performance when it comes to the hard disk drives. But as you can see, the Nvme that I have, which is the PCIe 4.0, it did come in about the same as the 2.5-inch SSD. However, I was also running Windows on it, OBS. So, you know, there's a lot more going on there and it still came in maybe just a ½ second quicker. But on sale, on a $30 sale, it's still at $109 to buy 500 gigabytes. Compared to the 2.5-inch drive, 500 gigabyte drive, which I have, it's coming in at $79.99 on sale. So it's about a $30 difference to get the fastest drive. Really, either of these 2 options are great. It's just if you have the money, that Nvme drive is really going to make the difference in a snappy operating system and just loading your favorite programs and software quicker. And then the last is the hard disk drive here, and it comes in on sale at $30 for a full terabyte. So it's double the storage as what we just showed with the Nvme and SSD, and it's only $30. So almost a third of the price. Well, it is a third of the price, more than a third of the price of the Nvme, and even comes in almost a third of the price as the SSD. But what you can really see is, let's say you're like, I just want a lot of storage on the Nvme. Well, when you go to 2 terabytes, especially with the PCIe 4.0, you can see on sale, you're looking at $360 just for storage. And you can almost get an entire budget build close to that price range. I mean, today's market, it'd probably be closer to $400 to $500 to get a really inexpensive budget build. But as you can see, storage really does go up in price with the more capacity that you're looking at. Whereas the SSD here, let's get out of that, 2 terabytes is $279. So you're looking at about a $100 difference there. But anyways, that just kind of wraps up the video today. And if you have any questions or comments, just leave them below and I'll get back to you. And go ahead and check out one of our previous videos. Thanks for hanging out with us today. See ya.